Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the podcast. Happy New Year. It's a gorgeous day here in Austin, Texas. I'm recovering from a little bit of a flu cold the last week. I'm still not over it, but I wanted to get this episode out because we're already kind of a day late. I don't like to do that. I know you guys expect us to release 2, 3 episodes a week, and we want to make sure to deliver. So while I'm feeling like ass, I wanted to get this out and share what our strategy is for this year. Now, history has a way of repeating itself, and I've been around real estate for over 20 years now. This is my 25th year. And we saw this last quarter, started seeing an increase in distressed stuff, more defaults, more distressed notes coming across our desk, residential and commercial. You're seeing more delinquent stuff where people are starting to fall behind on all sorts of different assets across the country. Texas is one of the top states for distressed stuff. Florida obviously is with all their errors going on there. I think there's an opportunity in Florida if you can buy it cheap enough and then hold it and ride it out. I mean, there's parts that are going to be difficult to make money in just because the glutton of information. But if you've ever wanted to move to South Florida and get a decent property without being an Airbnb or stuff like that, it might be the time to do that and self-insure the property. I wouldn't be on the water. I would be inland. But anyway, our three-pronged approach this year is because of things I see, and I see opportunities. And as I've talked to some of my friends who are in the loan officers and mortgage business, they're seeing more people refinance out of 3% mortgages or sub 3% to tap into the equity, and they're willing to take a 6, 7% rate because they need that equity to survive. People are struggling. Everywhere across the board, people are struggling. Now, you I don't think you can't blame that on the Trump administration. Things are just expensive, and I think especially this healthcare, that's not on Trump. That's on Obama and Biden and stuff like that because all their stuff, they enacted it and it's just coming to an end, and Trump's choosing not to extend it. I don't think rates are going to come down that much. I don't think the Fed's going to change too much up. We're going to still see it at 6.5 inch, 6.5 interest rate when it comes to financing homes. And I think that's not a bad rate. You just have to understand you're probably going to buy less house, or you've got to buy a distressed house that you do some work to it. And so our three-pronged approach this year goes back to kind of when we started in the note industry. We started doing, when I first got into the note business, we were also doing a lot of short sales. Now, am I going to be buying short sales? No, I'm not going to be buying short sales. I'm not going to be negotiating them. But what we do see is an opportunity, especially these lists that come in across our desk on a regular basis. And we highlighted a little bit this before we wrapped up the year, is that these non-performing lists that we get in where they're at, 3% interest rates or 4%, that we can't buy cheap enough to make money on, it does make sense for us to target those for subject to deals. And so that's besides our, first being non-performing notes and institutional notes, that's the main prong. A subset of that is off the list. If it doesn't, we can't buy at a price that makes sense, then we'll approach the borrower to do subject to deals. And we talked about breaking down in one of our previous episodes about breaking down 1,500 DSCR loans and stuff like that as opportunity for that. And so a lot of these will have 20% equity or more in a property, and the borrowers are literally going to be losing their house if they don't do something about it. So it makes for great opportunities for us to step in, bring a little money to the table to get the borrowers caught up, or get the mortgage caught up and retain it, and then either we'll do a wraparound mortgage here in Texas or turn it into rental property. I don't want to own rental property for the most part. I'd rather own the debt and hold that and do an owner wrap around it. And that's why we've, over the last few months, have invested highly in learning more of the better ways to do that and legally do it here in Texas with Nirvana Roof, the RMLO, and then also Alan Chesker here locally. So that's one of the big things we're focused on. Besides non-performing notes in our favorite markets across the country, really diving into that distressed stuff in our favorite markets as well that we could potentially take over subject to. So we will be doing a little direct mail campaigns that. Thirdly, we're targeting probate deals in South Texas, down where I'm from, because that's kind of it's the spot where we're looking to move eventually here. Austin has been great, but it's just getting kind of hectic, and I just don't like it being out in the big city anymore. Corpus is not a big city. It's not nice as Austin, but the slower pace of life and being able to relax a little bit, I don't need all the crazy stuff that we have going on here, and I'd rather be someplace where I'm not hearing ambulances drive by my houses every night, and the Democratic socialists aren't running the city government here. So I think getting outside of the bigger cities is a safer play, and that's what we're looking for. So yes, we're going to be a little bit more direct mail campaigns. Like I said, out to the probate list in South Texas, down in Corpus, distressed stuff that we can take over subject to. We're doing some direct marketing campaigns, reviving a couple of websites. We've used that in the past to get people to feed to. And then of course the note business. And that's our main focus. And I think that's an opportunity for you if you're in an area where you're seeing more distressed stuff. If you can buy the notes, great. If you can't buy the notes, then work about trying to negotiate with the homeowners to help them avoid a foreclosure on their credit, which will haunt them for 7 years. And that's just a number. It's a numbers game for that. Okay. I won't say it's direct mail campaigns, but if you do send out 100 letters, you'll probably have 4 phone calls and can convert one, hopefully. Now, underlying all of this is the need for capital. You're still going to need to raise capital to fund these deals. Now, you're not going to be buying the mortgage, but you're still going to probably need some money to fund the over or the delinquencies, maybe some light rehab, some holding costs along the way. And that's important. Obviously, you're going to need to raise capital for note investing and stuff like that for you. And then whatever your other focus is, you still got to be marketing. And that's the thing that these days, here's the most important thing. And you saw us double down on a lot of this stuff with the AI stuff and Scott's clone, which you can still use. You really have to be consistent. We did a post on January 1st on LinkedIn and shared it. And that's my word for the year. Being consistent. You have to be consistent. That doesn't mean once every 2 weeks, once when you get around to it. You have to set things up through either Buffer or any type of social media scheduling app. You have to get in a habit, even if you're working full time. And I feel for you, yes, sometimes you feel like you don't want to do. You have to take advantage of the weekends to schedule stuff that goes out on a weekly basis. If you're not scheduling things and you're not being consistent, you're non-existent. Consistent, great. Not being consistent, you might as well, you're just a ghost out there. It's gonna be really hard for people out there. So you really need to dive deep into sharing some sort of content and deal flow across your social media stuff. And yes, some social media campaigns work well. Facebook is a dumpster fire. Still LinkedIn and your email database of growing that. And best ways to grow that, I think, is to be the hot leads, going out and networking, going to your local real estate club, especially in January, February, March. 3 best months to raise capital by going out and networking. And we're doubling down on a lot of that stuff, going out and networking and connecting with people and seeing what people are doing, not only here locally, but also in our favorite markets across the country. So, but that's our three-pronged approach. Once again, is targeting non-performing notes for great cash, so that we can buy and either foreclose on for big checks or turning them into great reperforming notes that spit off 12 plus yield on the cash flow, so we can pay our investors an 8 to 10% return, and we're making money, an infinite rate of return on our money. Probate deals in South Texas, because that's where we're liking to look at some stuff. And then also looking at distressed stuff where we can target the borrowers to potentially take over the property subject to, and then do a wraparound mortgage or a rental agreement, lease option, depending. If it's outside of Texas, we would do a lease option. But for most of the stuff, we're looking here in Texas. So stay tuned, guys. We're here to help you guys. I'd love to hear from you. Please book a phone call with me, talkwithscottcarson.com, or shoot me a text message, 512-585-3810. Love to hear from you. If you've got a topic you'd like for us to discuss or share or market, please feel free to reach out to me. And also, if you've got a deal, case study you closed on in the last 90 to 120 days, you'd like to talk about it, reach out to me. We've got some multiple ways to probably get you on and feature and talk about your deal and how smart you are and how intelligent and how you're a badass at closing those deals. We like sharing success, and I think we need to see more of that in the world today. You don't have to have a million download podcasts. If you've closed on your first deal, or you're still doing your 10th or 20th deal, and you've got an interesting case, let's share it. Let's talk about it. That's one of the most important things you guys can do out there. So go out, let's take some action, everybody, and we'll see you at the top. And don't forget, we do have our upcoming workshop. We do have a live workshop taking place here, our Note Buying for Dummies workshop taking place February 27th, 28th, and March 1st here in Austin, Texas. You can get signed up for it by going to notebuyingfordummies.com or going over to our website at weclosenotes.com and doing a drop down for the 3-day virtual note buying class. It's in person here in Austin. No, we're not live streaming it. Sign up for the class. We're running a discount on it right now. Notebuyingfordummies.com. It's your ticket price includes access for you plus a spouse or partner, business partner. So go out, take some action, everybody. And